But I found the courage because I believe this unbelievable, almost incredible tale might give many of you a chance to reflect on the true meaning of family. My story begins about this time last year, when a sudden crisis turned my life upside down. In an instant, my peaceful existence shattered and I was plunged into a deep abyss. I was in such shock, so consumed by anger and betrayal, that I couldn't sleep. The very foundations of my life, things I had believed in for so long, had crumbled beneath me. I wanted to end it all. But my mother held me back. This woman, who had spent her entire life sacrificing for her family, who had never once raised her voice for her own sake, wept uncontrollably and made a single, desperate plea. "Son, just hold on for 3 months. Please, not now." Those 3 months completely changed my life, and this is that story. I met my wife, Sarah, through a mutual friend, and we've been married for over 15 years. It wasn't love at first sight or some kind of movie-like romance, but the more we saw each other, the more I felt a sense of comfort and ease with her. I was especially grateful for the way she'd burst out laughing at my dumbest jokes. "Honey, I don't know why, but everything you say is hilarious to me. You're the best comedian I know." That's what she used to say when we were dating. Looking back, my jokes were nothing special, but she seemed to find them endlessly amusing. We dated happily for a year before getting married, and to anyone looking in, we were the perfect couple. But we had one struggle. We started trying for a baby in our 2nd year of marriage, but it wasn't easy. We began seeing specialists, and after a series of tests, we were told the infertility issues were on her side. Sarah was devastated and blamed herself. "I'm so sorry," she'd whisper. "It's my fault. I just wanted to give you a beautiful baby." "It doesn't matter. Don't even think about it," I'd tell her. "How can I not? Every time I see your mom, I feel like such a failure." "Why would you think that? This is our life. You don't need to worry about what anyone else thinks. I'm truly happy with just the 2 of us." And I meant it. Of course, a child would have been wonderful, but I never believed my life would be unhappy without one. Years passed. By then, I had more or less given up on the idea of having children. Doctors and friends suggested in vitro fertilization, but I was hesitant. It seemed like it would be too hard on Sarah. Then, like a miracle, she got pregnant. I still remember the day I found out as if it were yesterday. I came home from work to find her standing in the entryway, her face puffy from crying. She was clutching something in her hand. "What's that?" I asked. Instead of answering, she just held out a small photograph, her eyes welling up again. I took it, puzzled, and then my heart stopped. It was an ultrasound picture. I stood there, speechless, just staring at her. She bit her lip and nodded. "Michael, this..." "Yeah," she whispered. "It's real. I'm pregnant. I can't believe it either. I was feeling strange, so I went to the doctor just in case, and they told me." I was frozen for a long moment. Sarah started crying first, and then I joined her. We stood there in the entryway, my work shoes still on, holding each other and weeping for what felt like an eternity. This was the child we had waited for so desperately. A gift that arrived like a dream, just when we had given up hope. I called my mother, barely able to contain my excitement. She was speechless for a while. "Michael, are you serious? Is Sarah really pregnant?" "Yes, Mom, it's true. She just got back from the doctor." "Oh, my goodness. Oh, that wonderful girl. I'm coming over right now. I have to do something. I can't just sit here." "Mom, it's late. Just come tomorrow." "No, I have to come now. I have to see my Sarah's face." When she arrived, my mother wordlessly pulled Sarah into a long, tight hug. Throughout the pregnancy, our entire family treated her like she was made of glass. We worried if she lifted anything heavy, if she might slip on the stairs, if she was overexerting herself in any way. Sarah would laugh and say she was fine, but we all prayed with one heart for the healthy birth of this child. She was so precious, so long awaited. Then, about a month before her due date, a crisis erupted at work. A problem had come up with a project I was managing, and I had to fly to our London office to handle it in person. Can I really leave now, with the baby due in a month? The thought tormented me, but my boss assured me it would only be a 3-night trip, so I made up my mind. The reality of becoming a father was weighing on me, making me want to work harder, get that promotion, and be the dependable dad my child deserved. Besides, there was still a month to go, and my mom lived nearby. I figured everything would be fine. I broke the news to Sarah, my face full of regret. "Honey, I'm so sorry. I have to go to London for work." "What? So suddenly?" "It'll only be for a few days. The due date is still a month away, so nothing should happen, right?" "Of course not. Don't worry about me and go. Your mom's right here if anything happens, and you'll be back before we know it." She smiled to reassure me, and so I left for London. The night before I was scheduled to fly back, I got an unexpected call from my mother. "Michael, Sarah had the baby." The news was so shocking I shouted into the phone. "What? Mom, what did you just say? She had the baby, but the due date is still a month away." "I know." The contractions started suddenly. It was chaos getting her to the hospital, but thank God it was a smooth delivery. She's recovering now. "Are Sarah and the baby? Are they both okay?" "They're perfect. You have a beautiful baby girl, Michael. So beautiful you won't be able to take your eyes off her." At her words, my heart felt like it was going to burst. I couldn't sleep a wink that night, wishing I could just teleport home. At dawn, I rushed to the airport, caught the first flight back, and drove straight from the airport to the hospital. There, I saw her for the first time. My wife, lying in the hospital bed, and next to her, a tiny sleeping life. I will never forget that overwhelming moment as long as I live. That little girl, born through so much drama, was our daughter, Lily, a name Sarah and I chose together, hoping she would live a life as pure and beautiful as the flower. After Lily was born, I became a different person. I'd head straight home after work, turning down any other plans because I wanted to spend every possible moment with my family. No matter how tired I was the one changing diapers, mixing formula, and handling the middle-of-the-night feedings. The first time she said "Data," the day she took her first steps, every single one of those memories is etched forever in my heart. My coworkers teased me, calling me a girl dad through and through. I didn't deny it. I was hopelessly devoted. I truly believed there was no child more beautiful in the world than my daughter, and I was confident I would do anything for her. 7 years flew by in the blink of an eye. My little Lily was now 7 years old, about to start elementary school. Our life with our sweet, lovely child was a happiness we wouldn't have traded for anything in the world. But then, a thunderbolt struck our family, which I had thought would be happy forever. It was a lazy Saturday afternoon. Lily was proudly showing me a picture she had drawn when she suddenly swayed and collapsed onto the floor. I shot up in alarm and scooped her into my arms. "Lily! Lily!" Her face was pale, her eyes were closed, and she was completely limp. Hearing my panicked voice, Sarah ran into the room, saw Lily, and screamed. "Lily, wake up, sweetie. What's wrong?" We rushed her to the emergency room. After examining her, a doctor approached us. "Are you the child's parents?" My heart pounding, I nodded. "Yes, we are. What's wrong with our Lily? Is she going to be okay?" But the doctor's expression was grim. The moment I saw his face, my heart sank. "She's regained consciousness, but we need to do a full workup. Her anemia is severe, and we found some abnormalities in her blood work." "Abnormalities? What does that mean?" "I can't say for sure right now. We need to run more tests to know exactly what we're dealing with. We need to admit her immediately." Sarah and I just stared at each other, our faces drained of all color. For the next few days, our daughter underwent every test imaginable. It was too much for a 7-year-old to endure. She looked frail and exhausted. "Daddy," she whispered, her voice weak. "I want to go home. Why do I have to keep getting shots?" "Just be brave a little longer, sweetie," I said, my voice thick. "The doctors are just trying to figure out how to make you feel better. This will help you get well faster, so we can go home sooner. You can be brave, right, Lily?" "Really? If I do this, I can go home soon?" I promise. As soon as the tests are done, you can go home." I said those words, but inside, I was terrified. I had no idea what was happening to my child, and the not knowing was agonizing. After several excruciating days, the test results came in. The doctor called my wife and me out of the room. His expression was so dark that I knew, instinctively, he was about to deliver bad news. "Lily has leukemia." The moment I heard that word, the world seemed to stop. Everything went dark, and a ringing filled my ears. I felt Sarah slump to the floor beside me, but I couldn't even think to help her up. I just stared at the doctor. Numb. "Is there a cure?" I asked, my voice a hollow whisper. "She can be cured, right?" We need to start chemotherapy immediately. However, in Lily's case, chemo alone won't be enough. The only fundamental cure is a bone marrow transplant. A bone marrow transplant? Yes. We need to find a suitable donor. It's not an easy process. Without hesitation, I said, "Test me first. I'll do anything for Lily. I couldn't finish the sentence. A sob tore through me. My wife, who had collapsed upon hearing the doctor's words, had fainted and had to be taken to the ER to be rehydrated with an IV. Sarah and I were tested immediately and waited for the results. A few days later, we went to hear the outcome. The doctor looked at us with a troubled expression. "We have the results from both of your tests," he began, "and something unexpected has come up." "What is it?" I asked, my heart hammering. "One of us can be a donor for Lily, right? We're her parents." The doctor hesitated, looking like he didn't know how to say what he needed to say. A knot of dread formed in my stomach. "What is it, doctor? Is there something wrong with me? I've been cutting back on drinking. I quit smoking for her." "No, it's not that." The doctor finally looked me in the eye. "I need to ask, is Lily adopted?" "What? Adopted? What are you talking about? My wife gave birth to Lily." "Well, Lily's blood type is one that is biologically impossible to result from the combination of yours and your wife's blood types." I couldn't process his words. "What does that mean?" The doctor explained it slowly. "The combination of my blood type and Sarah's could never produce a child with Lily's blood type. Of course, we can't be certain based on blood type alone," he added, "but we need to look into this further." I don't remember how I left that office. My mind was a complete blank. My feet felt like they were floating above the ground. This can't be happening. The test must be wrong. I kept repeating that thought over and over, but a seed of doubt had been planted, and it was growing into a monstrous tree. I raced home and, in secret, took my toothbrush and Lily's and sent them off for a paternity test. I didn't tell Sarah. I didn't tell my mother. It took a full week for the results to come back. That week was hell. I was already a mess dealing with my daughter's illness, and now this unthinkable situation was pushing me to the brink. I couldn't focus at work. Every time I looked at Lily's face in the hospital, my heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice. Lily might not be my daughter? What kind of nonsense is that? It can't be true. My turmoil must have shown on my face, because even my little girl seemed to sense something was wrong. "Daddy, what's wrong? Are you sick too?" "Huh? Oh no, sweetie. Daddy's just sad because you're sick. So we need to get you better and go home, okay?" Her innocent words twisted my gut. With a sad look, she suddenly reached out her tiny hand and placed it on my forehead. "Are you sick, Daddy? Does your head hurt? Lily will make it better. Lily's hand is a magic hand. Get better soon, Daddy." "Lily, where did you learn that?" "Grandma does it for me when my tummy hurts. She says her hand is a magic hand, and then it feels better." Looking at her, tears welled up in my eyes again. It was already unbearable that my lovely daughter was sick, but to have to doubt my relationship with her in the middle of it all, it was too much to carry. After an eternity, the results arrived. I parked my car in the hospital lot and tore open the envelope. I saw a complex chart, and below it, a single, conclusive sentence. "The alleged father is excluded as the biological father of the child." I sat there for a long time, holding that piece of paper. My mind went numb. I couldn't breathe. I finally understood what it meant to have your world fall apart. What is this? Lily isn't my child? How is this possible? The child who had been my entire world for 7 years was not my flesh and blood. It was so absurd, so unbelievable, that I was overcome with a chilling sense of betrayal, the image of Lily's bright face and Sarah's smiling one flashing through my mind. I tried to hold it back, but once the tears started, they were impossible to stop. After a long time, I managed to pull myself together and went up to the hospital room. Lily was asleep in her bed, and Sarah was dozing in the chair beside her, holding her hand. Every instinct screamed at me to shake Sarah awake and demand the truth. But I was so disgusted, so enraged, I couldn't even bear to look at her face. I clenched my jaw and walked back out of the room. Just then, I saw my mother walking down the hall. She was coming to visit. She saw me standing there, frozen, and stopped. "Michael, what is it?" "Did something happen to Lily?" she asked, her eyes wide with fear. I just looked at her and shook my head, then led her to an empty waiting area. With a devastated expression, I handed her the document. Mom, don't be shocked, but look at this. Lily isn't my child. Sarah cheated on me. How could she do this to me? I can't live with her anymore. I'm going to divorce her. My mother took the paper and stared at it for a long time. Then she started to sob. I expected that. She had been overjoyed at the news of the pregnancy. I knew she would be just as shocked as I was. But her reaction that followed was something I never could have predicted. I thought she would demand I divorce Sarah immediately. Instead, she took my hand and said something that stunned me. Michael, you can't get a divorce. Mom, what did you just say? You can't, please. She was crying, clinging to my hand, pleading with me. I couldn't understand. Mom, are you telling me to keep living with a woman who cheated on me and passed off another man's child as mine? It's been 7 years. 7 years she's been lying to me. How can I not divorce her? This one time, son, please just listen to your mother. She looked up at me, her face streaked with tears. My mother had never asked me for anything difficult. She had always supported me, always trusted my decisions. This was the first time in my life she had ever tried to stop me so desperately. Even if it's hard, just a little longer. Just 3 months. Son, just hold on for 3 months. Not now. I'm begging you. 3 months? Mom, what are you talking about? Why 3 months? What's going to change? I pressed her for an answer, but she just shook her head. I can't tell you now. It's not time yet. Please trust me, and just wait 3 months. No matter how much it hurts, if you can just hold on until then, I'll explain everything. Mom, why are you doing this? If you don't want to see me go crazy, please just tell me now. Michael, I'm begging you. When have I ever asked you for anything like this? For now, don't think about anything else. Just focus on keeping Lily from getting any sicker. That's all. Please. Her eyes were filled with such desperation. Looking at her, I couldn't keep insisting. I forced myself to nod, but my anger wouldn't subside. That night, I slept alone on a bench in the hospital corridor. I couldn't bring myself to go back into the room and see their faces. I had promised my mother I would wait, but my heart was in agony. And I couldn't stop wondering why. Why would my mother defend a cheating daughter-in-law and stop her own son from getting a divorce? To find out, I had to keep my promise, but that time was a living hell. Lily's chemotherapy started a few days later, but I couldn't even look Sarah in the eye. We would be in the same room, but I wouldn't say a word. When Lily fell asleep, I'd go out into the hallway and spend the night there. Sarah seemed to think my strange behavior was because I was struggling to see our daughter in pain, so she didn't say much. She was also exhausted from caring for Lily, and probably didn't have the energy to pay much attention to my change in mood. But it was Lily who first noticed the change. One day, as I was staring blankly out the window, she called to me. Daddy, why don't you hug me anymore? Do you not like me because I'm sick? What? No, that's not it. Daddy's just a little tired. You're always tired lately, Daddy. It's because of me, isn't it? No, Lily, it's not because of you. She looked down, dejected. The old me would have scooped her up into a big hug and reassured her, but I couldn't. The fact that she wasn't my biological daughter was a constant, screaming thought in my head. That night, I was again sitting on a bench in the hospital corridor, my mind racing with torturous thoughts. Who did Sarah have an affair with? When did it start? Was she laughing at me this whole time, for 7 years, while I was being a fool? Then, Sarah came out into the hallway. Lily must have fallen asleep. In the quiet of the hospital, she sighed and spoke first. Michael, you look awful. This is so hard, isn't it? I'm sorry I haven't been able to pay you any attention with everything going on with Lily. Just stop, I said, my voice laced with a bitterness I couldn't control. I don't want to talk about it with you. She looked at me, shocked and confused. Seeing her face made my anger even harder to contain, and finally, the secret I had been holding back burst out. Is there anything you need to tell me about Lily? Huh? What do you mean? I tried to keep my voice steady, but it trembled with a mixture of rage and grief. They say Lily isn't my child. Whose baby did you have and pass off as mine all this time? Sarah stared at me in disbelief. Michael, what are you talking about? Who told you something so ridiculous? Lily has a blood type that's impossible for us to have created, so I got a test. It said there's no paternal relationship between me and Lily. She stared at me, dumbfounded, before shaking her head. No, something's wrong. That doesn't even make sense. Do tests lie, or do people lie? For 7 years I thought this child, the result of my wife's affair, was my everything. Can you even begin to imagine how betrayed and furious I feel? My voice was rising, but I couldn't stop it. But Sarah's voice rose to match mine, filled with anguish. It's not true. Michael, I swear it isn't. How could you, of all people, suspect me of something like that? So this is why you've been so cold to me and to Lily? Because of this crazy idea? I just thought you were stressed and overwhelmed. She started to cry, insisting she was innocent. But I couldn't believe her tears. The test results clearly stated that Lily was not my child. To me, there was only one possible explanation. I looked at her crying and said coldly, I don't want to hear it. If you're going to cry, go do it somewhere else. Michael, why are you being like this? She whispered, her face a mask of disbelief. It's not true. Please, just believe me. She kept repeating the same words, but I couldn't listen anymore. I shot up from the bench and walked out of the hospital. The early morning air was cold, but my head was on fire. After that, Sarah kept trying to convince me, but I ignored her completely. The hellish days continued. Even in the hospital room, I couldn't focus on Lily. I would sit by her side, but my mind was a storm. Nurses came and went, doctors did their rounds, and I would just sit there, numb. I felt fury when I looked at Sarah, and my heart would break when I looked at Lily. I didn't know how to act around my own daughter anymore. Through it all, the chemo continued. But tragically, it didn't seem to be very effective. Lily's hair fell out, and she grew more gaunt by the day. Watching her suffer and being unable to do anything was its own special kind of torture. In those moments, it didn't matter if Lily was my biological child or not. I felt like I would do anything, absolutely anything, if it meant she could get better. I would corner her doctor every day, begging him to save her. But he would just repeat the same thing. The only real hope was finding a suitable bone marrow donor. Around this time, my mother's behavior grew stranger. After telling me to wait 3 months, she started going out all the time. She was usually a homebody, but now, every time I called, she was out. Mom, where are you? Oh, I just had to step out for a bit. For what? Just meeting some friends, she'd say, trailing off. It felt odd, but I was too wrapped up in my own problems to press her. But it kept happening. My mother was going out more than ever before. She'd come to the hospital to see Lily and then leave in a hurry. When I'd ask where she was going, she'd give vague excuses, meeting a friend, going to church. I had a feeling she was lying. One day, I overheard her on the phone as she was rushing out of the hospital. Yes, the address is, please, I'm begging you, do it as fast as you can. I have to find her. Yes, I'll pay whatever it costs. The money doesn't matter. Just please, hurry. Hearing that call deepened my suspicion. Who is she so desperate to find? She ended the call, her voice trembling and on the verge of tears. It was all very strange. Meanwhile, Sarah took every opportunity to plead her innocence. Michael, it wasn't me. I swear on my parents' graves. After I met you, I never even looked at another man. Then explain it, I'd challenge her. How do you explain the test results? I don't know. I honestly don't know. But it's not what you think. I couldn't believe her blanket denials. But sometimes, when I looked into her eyes, filled with such genuine hurt, my resolve would waver. So, wondering if maybe, just maybe, the test had been wrong, I had it done one more time. The results were identical. It was a pointless exercise that only deepened my sense of betrayal. As I wrestled with my own torment, Lily's condition worsened. She suffered from the side effects of chemo, vomiting frequently, and barely able to eat. Her face was ashen, her lips pale. "Daddy," she'd whimper, "why am I so weak? It hurts so much." Hearing her words felt like a knife in my chest. "It's okay, sweetie. The medicine is just fighting the bad germs in your body. If you wait just a little longer, it will all be over." "Really? You're not lying, Daddy?" "Of course not. Daddy never lies. Our Lily is going to get better very soon." I said it, but inside, I was filled with dread. If we couldn't find a donor, I couldn't bear to think about what would happen. The agonizing time passed, and the promised 3 months were nearly up. My mother called me. "Michael, I need you and Sarah to come to the house this weekend. I have something important to tell you." "What is it? Can't you just come to the hospital?" "No. This needs to be said where it's just us family. I promised you, didn't I, that if you held on for 3 months, I'd tell you everything. Don't worry about Lily. I've already asked your aunt to stay with her for the day." I could hear a strange, solemn determination in her voice. My heart began to pound. Am I finally going to learn the secret she's been hiding? "Okay," I said. "I'll let Sarah know." As I hung up, a wave of anxiety washed over me. What was she going to say? Was this the end of this hellish time, or the beginning of an even greater one? I had no idea then that the story my mother was about to tell would be a truth far more shocking than anything I could have ever imagined. A few days later, on that weekend, Sarah and I drove to my mother's house in complete silence. My mother greeted us with a sigh and told us to sit in the living room. She hesitated, unable to begin, just staring down at a manila envelope in her hands. Finally, she looked up and spoke. "Michael." "Yes, Mom. I need you to listen to everything I'm about to say. Don't interrupt me." I nodded. Her expression was so complex, my heart was racing. "Michael, Sarah never had an affair." Her tone was firm. I looked at her, bewildered. "What, Mom? What are you basing that on? The test results clearly—" "Michael, I told you to listen. Sarah is completely innocent." I was more confused than ever. If Sarah gave birth to Lily, and Lily wasn't my child, wasn't the conclusion obvious? Yet my mother was stating with absolute certainty that the obvious was not the truth. Seeing the suspicion in my eyes, she began to cry, and then she uttered the most staggering words I had ever heard. "The reason you and Lily have no biological connection is not because of an affair. It's because the baby Sarah gave birth to is not Lily." I couldn't comprehend her words. "Mom, what does that mean?" "Sarah gave birth to her. You were there." My voice trembled. I wasn't the only one in shock. Sarah's face was a blank mask. "Mom, what did you just say?" she asked, her voice faint. "I gave birth to Lily. I remember how hard it was. After she was born, you stroked my hair and told me I did a good job." My mother just looked at her, her eyes filled with a deep, indescribable sorrow. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I lied to you. There's something I've hidden for 7 years. Sarah's face went white as my mother placed the envelope on the table and began her story. "We have to go back 7 years, to when you were a month away from your due date, and Michael went to London on that business trip." I nodded. "Yes. It was supposed to be a few days, but Lily was born while I was gone." "That's right. While you were away, Sarah called me saying her stomach hurt. It was much too early. I rushed over, got her in a taxi, and took her to the small community hospital nearby. So far, it was the story I knew. But what came next was something I had never heard before. The truth is, Sarah, you had a very difficult labor. It was long and arduous. The doctors said if they waited any longer, both you and the baby would be in danger, so they performed an emergency C-section." My mother paused, overcome with emotion, unable to continue. "Mom, what is it?" I urged, my anxiety skyrocketing. "Please, keep going." She took a moment to compose herself. During the delivery, the baby's heart suddenly stopped. The doctors did everything they could to save her, but it was no use. By the time they delivered her, it was too late. "Sarah, you delivered a stillborn baby." The world fell away. Beside me, Sarah let out a strangled cry. "No, that's a lie. I gave birth to a healthy baby. Lily is my daughter." She shot to her feet, her body shaking violently. "Mom, why are you saying this? When I woke up from the anesthesia, you brought Lily to me." My mother didn't answer. She just bowed her head, weeping. After a long moment, she revealed the rest of the devastating truth. "Sarah, I am so sorry. It's true that I brought you a baby when you woke up in the recovery room, but that baby was not the one you delivered. After your surgery, while you were recovering, I was waiting outside when they told me your baby hadn't made it. My world went dark. I just collapsed right there and cried for a long time. Sarah was shaking like a leaf, and I was so pale I couldn't speak. I knew how desperately you two had waited for that child," my mother continued, her voice choked with tears. "I saw how you counted the days until you could meet her, and then to be told that she died without ever taking a breath, I was going out of my mind. How was I supposed to tell you? How could I tell you who would wake up asking for your baby that she was gone? I couldn't imagine what that news would do to you. I couldn't say it. And then I began to understand. But one question remained. But Mom, then who is Lily? Where did she come from? My mother took a deep breath. That day, I was crying in the hallway outside the nursery. I had told you I would bring the baby, but I had no idea what to do. I was a complete mess. That's when I overheard two nurses talking. About what? There was a young single mother who had given birth on the same day as you, but right after the baby was born, she abandoned her at the hospital and ran away. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. Don't tell me. That baby. Yes, my mother whispered. That baby was Lily. The nurses were worrying about what to do, how to send a newborn to a foster home. And in that moment, I had a crazy thought. If I could make that child our child, if I could pretend she was the one you gave birth to, I thought everything would be okay. I was speechless. Sarah covered her mouth, a muffled sob escaping. I know, my mother said. It was an insane idea. But in that moment, all I could think about was you two. I knew you would wake up and ask for your baby, Sarah, and I just couldn't bear to tell you she was gone. So I went to the medical staff, I got on my knees, and I begged them. I begged them to let us raise that child as our own. And? I asked, my fists clenched. At first, of course, they said no. They were horrified, but I just kept crying and pleading, and I think their hearts softened. That baby was going to end up in the system anyway. And you, Sarah, would be lost in grief. Fortunately, in that small hospital, on that day, only 2 babies were born, yours and Lily. The doctor and the nurses, they quietly looked the other way. They were worried about the baby too. They knew what life would be like for an abandoned child in foster care. I swallowed hard, trying to process the unbelievable story. So you're saying Lily isn't the child Sarah gave birth to, but a baby abandoned by a single mother? My mother wiped her tears with the back of her hand and opened the old envelope, pulling out some papers. These are the documents from that time. I've hidden them for 7 years, and I was planning to take this secret to my grave. I was never going to tell. But then Lily got sick, and I couldn't keep the secret any longer. I looked down at the papers. They were old hospital records, birth certificates. You're telling us now because you didn't want me to misunderstand what happened with Sarah, right? I asked, tears streaming down my face. If it weren't for this, we would have gone our whole lives without knowing. That's part of it, she said. But the biggest reason is Lily. She's sick and needs a bone marrow transplant, and there's no match in our family. In that instant, I understood what my mother had been doing for the past 3 months. Mom, don't tell me. Yes, I've been searching for the single mother who abandoned Lily all those years ago, Lily's birth mother. I hired a private investigator. At her words, Sarah and I froze. The image of my mother, always busy, always on the phone for the last 3 months, flashed in my mind. So? I asked, my voice tight with tension. Did you find her? My mother nodded. Yes, I found her. At that one phrase, Sarah, who had been completely broken, shot her head up. Really? Mom, is that true? You met Lily's birth mother? Yes. I told them I'd pay whatever it took to find her. They used the 7-year-old hospital records to search the entire country, and they finally located her. I held my breath and pressed on. So? What is she like? Can she save Lily? Her name is Jenna. She works at a small hair salon in a little town upstate. She's married now with 2 other kids, and she never told her husband about the baby she had. A wave of complex emotions washed over me. The woman who had abandoned her newborn child was now living another life with another family. I felt a surge of anger, and at the same time, an immense wave of pity for Lily. Sarah asked urgently, Mom, did you meet her? My mother nodded. Yes. I met her last week. What did she say? Can she help our Lily? At first, she was just stunned, my mother said slowly. To have someone show up after 7 years and bring up a past she had tried to forget, she wasn't happy. But when I explained the whole situation, she broke down. She got on her knees and begged for my forgiveness, even though she'd done nothing to me. She said she was just a kid back then, so young and terrified. She had no idea how she could possibly raise a child on her own, so she ran. Sarah and I listened in silence. But she told me through her tears that she had never forgotten the baby she gave up, not for a single day. She said she prayed every night that her child was living well somewhere. A few years ago, she even went back to the hospital to try and find her, but the doctor had passed away in an accident and the nurses had all scattered. My mother wiped away another tear. So I told her everything, that the baby had leukemia and needed a bone marrow transplant, and we couldn't find a match. She responded immediately. She said of course she would do it if she was a match. She begged me to let her save the child's life. She got tested, and Sarah and I bit our lips, waiting. Jenna is a match for Lily. She can give her the transplant. The moment I heard those words, my knees went weak and I almost collapsed. Sarah, sobbing, asked again, "Really? She's really a match?" "Yes, it's certain." I couldn't speak for a long time. Too many emotions were flooding me at once, the shock of the 7-year-old secret, and the hope that my child could be saved. Finally, I broke down and cried. Sarah did too. She turned to my mother, her voice thick with tears. "Mom, why? I never once thought Lily wasn't my child, not for a second." My mother walked over to Sarah and knelt before her. "I'm so sorry, Sarah. I should have told you the truth back then. I was just so scared. And the baby you gave birth to, that child?" Sarah couldn't finish the sentence, but my mother knew what she was asking. I arranged a small private funeral for her. I pray for her every year on the day she was born. Sarah continued to weep, and I couldn't stop my own tears. My mother remained on her knees in front of her daughter-in-law. After a long time, Sarah reached down and helped my mother to her feet. "Mom, I understand," she said. "You did it all for me. Even though I never got to say goodbye to the baby I carried, you gave me Lily. Thank you for that." At her words, my mother began to cry again, and the three of us stood there, holding each other, and cried for a long, long time. A few days later, my mother and I went to meet Lily's birth mother. Sarah had to stay with Lily at the hospital, so I went in her place. The salon was on the first floor of a modest building in a small town. When we opened the door, a woman in a simply decorated shop turned to greet us. "Welcome, how can I—" "Oh, ma'am." And there she was, the biological mother of the child I loved more than life itself. She recognized my mother, and then her eyes fell on me. My mother took my hand. "This is my son. He's the one who's been raising Lily." A complex array of emotions flickered across the woman's face. I'm sure my own face reflected the same turmoil. Just a few weeks ago, I never could have imagined my daughter had another mother. But I gathered my courage and spoke first. "Hello, I'm Lily's father." "Hello," she whispered. Did you name her?" "Yes, Lily. My wife and I chose it together." "Thank you," she said, her voice breaking. "It's a beautiful name." Then she began to cry. My mother and I waited quietly until she composed herself. "I know you can never forgive what I did 7 years ago," she said, wiping her eyes. "The man I was with left me, and I didn't realize I was pregnant until it was too late. I didn't know what to do, but I found the courage to have the baby alone. But I had no money, no job. I couldn't even pay the hospital bill. So I ran." Her voice was choked with sobs. "But I never forgot her, not for a day. I prayed every single night that my baby was safe and happy somewhere." I looked at her and said softly, "The past doesn't matter right now. What's important is saving Lily. Are you sure you want to go through with the transplant?" Her eyes shone with a firm resolve. "Yes, of course. I'm ready whenever. Tomorrow, if you need me. Just tell me what's best for Lily's condition, and we can set the date." Hearing her answer, I bowed my head instinctively. "Thank you. Because of you, Lily has a chance to live. Thank you so much." But as I finished, she bowed her head to me. "No," she said. "Thank you. For raising the child I couldn't, with so much love. For giving her the beautiful name, Lily, and for raising her to be a beautiful child. From the bottom of my heart, thank you." And so, Lily's birth mother and I stood there, facing each other, crying. My mother stood beside us, silently wiping her own tears. That day, as I left the salon, I looked up at the sky and thought of my daughter, Lily. We found her. We found the person who can save you, the woman who gave you life. To me, she is the most grateful person in the world. So please, just hold on a little longer. Not long after, the transplant surgery was scheduled. On the day of the operation, Sarah, my mother, and I waited outside the operating room, our hands slick with nervous sweat. After the secret was revealed, I had knelt before Sarah and apologized for everything. She was disappointed that I hadn't trusted her, but she said she would give me another chance. She knew our daughter needed me, and she would make the choice that was best for Lily. I promised her, over and over, that I would spend the rest of my life making it up to her. We vowed that no matter what trials we faced in the future, we would never doubt each other again. As I stared at the closed doors of the OR, I turned to Sarah. "She's going to be okay, right?" "Of course she is," Sarah said, her voice firm. "She's our daughter. She's strong. She will get through this and be healthy again. Don't you worry." I felt a fresh wave of gratitude for my wife. "Please, God," I prayed, "just let Lily live, and I will spend the rest of my days devoted to these two women." Finally, after an eternity, the doors opened and the surgeon walked out. "The transplant was a success. We'll need to monitor her recovery, but for now her condition is very good." The three of us broke down in tears of joy. A little later, we went to see Jenna, Lily's birth mother and our savior, in her recovery room. Sarah took her hand. "Jenna," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "They said the surgery went well. Lily's going to be okay. Thank you. Thank you so much." Tears streamed down Jenna's face. "I'm so glad. I'm so glad." Sarah bowed her head again. "Thank you for not giving up on her 7 years ago, for bringing her into this world, and for saving her now. To us, Lily is the most precious thing in the world. Please, let go of your burden now, Jenna, and be happy." Jenna replied through her own tears, "Thank you for raising the child I couldn't with so much love. I just have one favor to ask. Anything. Just say it. Please, don't ever let Lily know she was abandoned. I know she should know that her birth mother saved her life, but..." She shook her head. "No, please, just let her live happily, believing that you are her real parents. That's my last wish." Sarah and I nodded without hesitation. A few days later, after watching from a distance as Lily began to recover, Jenna quietly left. I saw Sarah run to her, press a photograph of Lily into her hand, and bow deeply one last time. In the months that followed, Lily steadily regained her health. She still has regular checkups, but the doctors say she's recovering quickly, and she's living a happy, joyful life. And sometime after, Sarah and I went to the church my mother had told us about. There, we lit a candle and said a tearful prayer for the child who never got to see the light of this world. We prayed and prayed again, that in the next life we might have the chance to meet as parent and child. We took a very difficult road to find the happiness we have today. And through this experience, I learned something profound. The most important thing in a family is not the blood you share, but the depth of the love and care you have for one another. Thank